Alright guys, so we have some progress done on the wiring and the oil line situation. So we removed the oil cooler in the front, so we have no more oil cooler, and we just ran the return just straight to here without having the oil cooler in line.
And then we rerouted some stuff too, because it was getting dangerously close to the heads. And like Johnny pointed out, I think we don't want hot oil returning back to the bag right up against the head. So if you come around this side, show them how we did it. We just brought it straight down, and I think that's a much cleaner job.
Yeah, so this was practically touching the exhaust here, and there's also wires. There are cloth covered wires practically touching those as well. So what we did, so if I come over here, is we ran the wires around here and up on this side. Then we also ran this line on this side. This is the oil return, and that just goes straight to here, which then goes through here into the oil filter that's in the cap. So just making it a little safer, making sure nothing gets burnt. You know, don't want any fires with all these cloth covered lines, because that'd be bad. So anyways, we're about to pour some oil in this, fill up that bag, make sure there's no leaks. Quart and a half. There's probably so much oil at the bottom end of this motor. It's been sitting since what? When was the last registration?
96.
96. So this oil's been sitting in the bottom end for quite a while. So there's probably going to be a lot in there. Taking the vent off, it was just pouring oil out of it. So we'll see. We'll probably throw a quart and a half in. See where we go from there.
Okay, so we're gonna run just straight 50 in here, because we assume that's what came out of it.
Oh. Just dump the whole thing.
Yeah. That's our ridiculous dog barking, as usual. She's a bully in the neighborhood. Even though she's 14 and couldn't kick anyone's ass, she acts like she could. Which I kind of respect, but it gets kind of annoying after a while. Okay, there's one quart.
All right, let's see where we at.
Let's just start with half more.
That's where the line is.
Only because okay, I'd say that's about. High performance dog hair from Sugar.
Okay, good.
And that's going to go in. It kind of goes to the side, pops underneath the frame. With his, you can see with his chips of paint here that every time he had that thing in and out, he should have just cut it back a little more. There you go.
What? Oh yeah.
This is Wonder Boy's handiwork over here. Okay, this is a normal drawer.
Yeah, this is what our drawers used to look like. They still do.
Right.
And then I decided to do those foam cutouts.
Look at this.
Looks pretty good.
Look at that.
Had to include the Harbor Freight
Makes the crappy
bottle opener.
Makes the crappy Harbor Freight tools look really good. Right? Look at that. I'll put those
See,
in there.
there's a couple missing. Oh yeah. This one took the longest, and for good reason. Yeah, there you go. It's our full snap-on SAE set. A couple of adjustables, bunch of little Harbor Freight sets. But yeah, this one is, I'd say, the best one. The foam was expensive for these, but as you can see, it's just so easy to put tools away. They don't move. It's just way more convenient. Yeah, here.
And then you know what you're missing.
You know what you're missing. Easy.
All right, we're back. 1973 Shovelhead Survivor chopper. Again, barn find, garage find, whatever you want to call it. We found it as a, what, an assembled basket case, would you call it?
Yeah.
Not running.
Partially assembled.
Partially assembled basket case. I redid the wiring diagram. Here we go. This is how we ended up wiring the whole thing. I think I showed you last time, kind of a rough thing, but this is just our general, this is what Johnny and I, aka Wonder Boy Johnny here, figured out as kind of a simple chopper wiring diagram. But if you see, Johnny will do a little walk around, and you can see we tried to kind of keep the period correct wiring in the sense that we use the cloth covered wires, even though that might be more of a
Fire hazard.
more of a panhead, knucklehead, more than shovel. But if you see, we tried to keep the wires nice and neat. Headlight wire run down through here. All of our brake switches running along the frame. Try to keep it neat, running up through the backbone over to there. We ended up, I think, earlier in one of the earlier videos, we showed the mystery box right here, which we thought we were going to find rolls of $100 bills, or what was the other thing we were going to find there?
Drugs, money.
Drugs, money. Found none of that. No electronics inside. Actually, no electronics on the entire bike. Just like a bunch of torn up shit wires. So we turned that to the battery box in one of the earlier videos. I showed how it worked. Here it is. We open it up now. Turned out nice and neat. We got our 30 amp right over here. We got our 15 amp here. All the wires coming up right up on the bottom, nice and neat. Our battery, our little lithium battery right in there, which is pretty powerful, more than enough to run the bike. Positive and negative. Again, it's all, we got rubber on all this, rubber on top, sides, and bottom, so it's not going to vibrate around. Number one. Number two, it's not going to shock anything. If we had built this bike from scratch, if this was ours, we would have run all these wires, which you can see right here. We would have run all these through the tubes. That's kind of our style. We don't want to see any wiring. But again, we're wiring something that was done, what, 1970s? So now we're rewiring it. Rebuilt the carburetor. We showed that in another video. Haven't quite dialed in this carburetor because I don't know that much about it, but we kind of put it back to what we assumed to be stock settings with all the jetting. Johnny went absolutely crazy. This is
I figured it's the first thing you're gonna see, so might as well just polish it.
So Johnny went insane with our brass, our little brass petcock. But this is awesome. This is a crazy setup that he had here. There's an actual plate underneath here. This is, again, not necessarily our style to weld in a plate to the frame. And then he's got this flat bottom gas tank with these studs coming out. We mounted it exactly how they intended, but that left one little tiny threaded bung on the corner, which is cool because all the gas is going to settle into here, which means you're going to get more range out of this, 100-mile gas tank here. But makes it super hard to thread anything in there because with this space right here, you're not going to get any kind of petcock in there. So all we could do is put this little 90-degree angle in here and then do the brass converters over here to this really cool old school petcock. That's on, that's off. That's all it is, on or off. We're running a gas filter. We don't typically run gas filters. And I know that some people would say that's...
Well, we don't run them because they have the...
Blasphemy.
If there's a petcock in there, it already has that little screen on
filter. And then also, too, we're typically building our gas tanks, or we know the history of our gas tanks, and we know that they're clean. We always clean them out. So running a filter in here doesn't need an inline filter. But this obviously has no filter inside here.
This is just like plumbing.
Plumbing, right. So now we're going to run a filter here. We'll run this for a while. If this gas keeps continuously coming up clean, because we don't know what this tank was coated with or if it was ever coated, or what the hell's inside this thing. Could be rust and crust and crap. But if this thing keeps coming up continuously clean, we might eventually take this out. But we routed this nice little swoopy action here to get over to the fuel inlet there. Not necessarily the cleanest, but I kind of like the way it looks. To be honest with you, it's kind of cool. We eliminated the oil cooler, which I talked about in one of the video before. We eliminated that. We just got the nice return going straight up to there, right up to here where it should be. It's really a lot cleaner looking. It's a little close to the header, and for my taste,
yeah,
original, old school. It's not a Harley, but it's an aftermarket brand. But it was in the original box. It was super cool. From the 70s, has the B-style connector, which I think I was right. I thought it was a B-style. It was. It's a B-style connector. There's all the different styles, you know, all the different heads on them. But this was the B-style. This worked out perfect. Comes with a little mounting block with an airspace in there. We like that. We ran all of our wires up through here, up across the backbone. We had to change out the key ignition because the one that was there was pretty...
it was grounding.
Grounding and shit. I'll call it shit. How about that? And then we built this tiny little simple bracket to hold our coil. We put a coil in here because we put an electronic ignition in there. We got rid of the points. If we're going to do it and you can't see it and it's a nice upgrade, great. You know, it's not going to be visually that different or bad. Think of actually it's going to be great because this looks a lot neater than the old one. The old one was this giant one you might see in another video with this horrible chrome cover over it. This to me looks a lot neater, kind of disappears. Again, height was a single fire coil. high output spark plug wires, electronic ignition. So hopefully the thing should start up nicely. Unlike some of the old shovels that we've dealt with, this thing should hopefully start easier. Let's see, what do we do over here? Taillight was already wired in. We just fixed the wires because someone decided to wire them differently than we would have. Fixed all that. Clutch cable, ran all that. Clutch is working. That's working. That was in another video. We showed that. What are the other little things we did? I think that's it right now. I think right now we threw some oil in it. We got about 1.5 quarts in there from we drained some oil out. We got a nice 1.5 quarts of clean 50 weight. And then in the next video, we're gonna kick it and see if it starts.
Kick it over. See. It will start second kick. Yeah. I promise.
Okay. So anyway, yeah. So we're gonna kick it over and see if it starts. But this is where we're at. We're pretty close to being done with it. Hopefully everything works out. Hopefully we got it wired correctly. Hopefully everything's gonna fire and run. But yeah. Oh, fix this. We fixed the headlight. There was some janky wire inside the headlight. This has got the high-low switch right here. This is gonna be off, high and low, which is, you know, again, something people did back in the 70s, which I think is pretty cool. We still have not figured out why this suspension in the front doesn't work. Basically, it's just 2 pipes. So we're gonna have to, if we can get this motor running, so the order's gonna go, we're gonna get it to run, fire, and run correctly. If that's running and the engine seems to check out, transmission seems to check out, all that works out, then we'll go ahead and tackle the front end. We'll rebuild the front end. We got brakes in the rear. We don't have any brakes in the front. We'll figure out the brakes. We'll figure out the speedo, because there was a little speedo in the box, and we'll get the forks going. But I don't want to tackle that before I make sure the motor's where it should be, because, you know, it's nice to rebuild the front end, everything running, and then the motor doesn't run. That's kind of the wrong order. So get this thing running. That's primarily our first priority, and then after that we'll deal with the front end. What else, Johnny? Anything else?
No, that's just about it.
All right.
This thing's ready to fire. We just need to put some gas in it and kick it over.
Kick it over a couple times.
Have my knee break in half.
My knee is still sore. My right knee is still sore from for kicking over Mark's bike, which is like what was it, 93-inch Shovelhead?
93-inch S&S.
93-inch S&S with a brand new build, so it's super stiff and super tight. So my knee still hurts from kicking that thing over. And that's about it. I can't think of anything else. Anything else we discovered or anything else strange?
Well, strange. This whole bike is strange.
A lot of strange. Let's say that. A lot of strangeness. But right now, I think we got a lot of those little weird things that we found ironed out, and you know, we'll see if we can get this thing running.